Unlike people who suffer from Todd, people who have shit to do don't imagine that expressing an opinion on everything makes them the solution to America's problems. Now, here's how you know. I like you. Here's how you know if you suffer from Todd. If the daily outrage cycle becomes your entire personality and you scroll all day to find the outrage, then screenshot the thread, then post the screenshot with the caption, "This." During most primetime nights, less than 1% of the country is watching Fox News, CNN, and MS Now combined. A guy on TikTok pressure washing his driveway gets bigger ratings.
If you think Bill Maher is backing off his war with the woke left anytime soon, think again. On a recent episode of his late-night show, the outspoken comedian went all in, blasting a culture where everyone has an opinion about everything, and anyone who disagrees gets scorched. The takedown? Ruthless, explosive, and classic Maher. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and let's dive in.
You don't have to react to everything, or have a hot take on everything, or care if someone says they don't like cats. You know, it wasn't that long ago when the most banal question you could ever ask someone was, are you a cat person or a dog person? Well, those innocent days are over, as actors Paul Mescal and Jessie Buckley found out recently when they were asked that and said they don't like cats. And the internet coughed up a furball of rage. How dare they? They don't like cats, but I do. Then one of us must die. Jessie Buckley even said she made her husband give their cat away. So what? They gave it away. They didn't have it sewn into a coat.
Maher kicks things off by taking aim at the far left for turning everyday preferences into full-blown ideological battlegrounds. And honestly, it's both sharp and hilarious. Somewhere along the way, simple personal choices stop being personal. Now everything is a statement. Everything is a test. And if you fail, the outrage machine fires up instantly. According to Maher, you can't even say what you like anymore without someone labeling it offensive or problematic. He mocks the absurdity these days, saying you love dogs can spark backlash from cat lovers and vice versa. It's petty, it's ridiculous, and it perfectly captures the cultural chaos he loves to expose. When preferences become politics, common sense quietly walks out the door.
They're not trying to outlaw cats, they're not eating them like Haitians. They just said they don't like them. That's allowed. People are allowed to have an opinion you don't share without you reacting. It's just a cloud. Let it pass. But no, that's not how a certain kind of people these days think. For them, having a phone to post from is like hosting a one-person episode of The View that never ends.
Maher then shifts his focus to The View, calling it what he sees as a carefully crafted echo chamber. In his view, the show doesn't promote real debate, it reinforces a single perspective. Guests often mirror the same opinions, repeat familiar talking points, and approach issues from identical angles. Instead of discussion, it becomes a synchronized performance where agreement is expected and dissent feels unwelcome. Even when a co-host pushes back, that voice is often interrupted, dismissed, or sidelined. To Maher, it reflects a broader media problem: platforms that claim to encourage conversation but shut it down the moment it gets uncomfortable.
Remember that the next time you read the words Twitter reacts or backlash erupts or internet explodes, the internet didn't explode. Some Gen Z loser at the Daily Beast and some right-wing shit poster exploded. No one else cared. The media would have you think that we're all at each other's throats all the time. But it's actually just a tiny minority who are on and in media and social media and who just want to fight and bitch about everything, leaving the false impression that America is hopelessly divided. But most people aren't hopelessly trapped in a news silo. They're hopelessly trapped in a minivan telling the kid, shut up, I can't hear myself think.
Next, Maher zeroes in on the internet, arguing that outrage online is often manufactured, exaggerated, and strategically amplified for attention. In his view, people aren't overreacting by accident, they're doing it on purpose. Why? Because outrage pays. In a monetized social media world, clicks and engagement are currency, and nothing generates both faster than anger. Creators have figured this out. Rage baiting, provoking, and polarizing aren't just tactics, they're business models. But Maher insists this chaos isn't reality. Step away from the screen, and the country doesn't feel nearly as divided as your feed suggests. Most people, he argues, are far more reasonable in real life than the internet makes them seem.
Twitter, X now, only has 1 out of 10 Americans visit it daily. 80% of us don't even have it. Sure, it has 500 million posts every day, but half of them come from the owner. Turns out, it really is like a town square, specifically Times Square in the 70s. Dirty, sketchy, and mostly full of perverts and losers with nothing better to do. Yes, I'm looking at you, all the people who lost it because Timothy Chalamet said no one cares about opera and ballet. Which prompted so many who have never been to the ballet or opera with no plans to go to rise up and say, I have a dog in this fight.
And there's truth to that. Only a small percentage of Americans are actually active on X, yet the noise coming from it is overwhelming and often toxic. Scroll for a few minutes and it feels like constant conflict, with extreme voices from both sides locked in endless arguments. It creates the illusion of a country on the brink. But that's the trick. It's a magnified version of a small, vocal minority. Step outside that bubble, and most people aren't nearly as combative or extreme as the online world makes them appear.
Just wake up so refreshed. I kid ballet, and I'm sure it's a great place to meet anorexics. But most people are watching Dancing with the Stars. That's why tonight, I am asking the American Psychiatric Association to add a new disorder to the Diagnostic Manual of Mental Disorders: terminally online disease.
Maher leans into the hypocrisy, pointing out how the same crowd that demands tolerance often reacts harshly to simple differences in taste. He jokes that even something as harmless as disliking opera, or being like Timothée Chalamet and having personal preferences, can trigger backlash. The reality is simple. Everyone has likes and dislikes. Movies, music, hobbies, no one agrees on everything. But somehow, some opinions are treated as acceptable while others are attacked. That's the double standard Maher calls out. Diversity of identity is celebrated, but diversity of thought, not so much.
OD or Todd. People experiencing Todd feel intense emotional distress from spending all day doom scrolling on their phone. And these people need your help, because Todd doesn't just affect those who suffer from it, it also affects their families and loved ones who aren't terminally online. These are the ones we call people who have shit to do.
Maher even gives it a name: terminally online disease. And honestly, the phrase says it all. He describes people who are constantly plugged in, endlessly scrolling, and always searching for something to be offended by. They jump into every trending topic with total confidence, even when they barely understand it. Facts take a backseat to hot takes, and nuance gets crushed by speed and outrage. And the moment you disagree, you're not just wrong, you're the target.
Unlike people who suffer from Todd, people who have shit to do don't imagine that expressing an opinion on everything makes them the solution to America's problems. Now, here's how you know. I like you. Here's how you know if you suffer from Todd. If the daily outrage cycle becomes your entire personality and you scroll all day to find the outrage, then screenshot the thread, then post the screenshot with the caption, "This."
He expands on that idea, painting a vivid picture of chronic doom scrollers, people trapped in a loop of outrage, reaction, and validation. It's no longer about staying informed. It's about feeding the cycle. The more they scroll, the more they find to complain about, and the deeper they get pulled in. Maher delivers it with humor, but there's a real edge to it. When your day revolves around online conflict, something's off. At some point, stepping back and unplugging isn't just helpful, it's necessary.
If real lives don't do this, because they've got shit to do. They haven't poured over every email in the Epstein files because they have their own mail to sort through, like the electric bill and the gas bill. Right Right now, there's a big fight going on between Megyn Kelly and Ben Shapiro about Candace Owens. And as it plays out, it's very important to remember that the most common reaction to it from Americans is, I don't know who any of these people are, and I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
And here, where it really hits home, most Americans aren't glued to online drama. They're focused on real life, work, family, safety, and stability. The endless arguments, viral outrage, and online feuds, that's not how most people spend their time. Many couldn't even name the loudest voices dominating social media. Maher's message to the far left is blunt. Not every issue needs your input, and not every disagreement makes someone the enemy. When everything becomes a moral battle, it pushes ordinary people away and turns discussion into exhaustion.
During most primetime nights, less than 1% of the country is watching Fox News, CNN, and MS Now combined. A guy on TikTok pressure washing his driveway gets bigger ratings. 76% of Americans watch less than 1 hour of any cable news in a month. And you thought opera was getting its ass kicked. If you ask most Americans what their opinion of Tulsi Gabbard is, their answer is going to be, what's a Tulsi Gabbard?
In the end, Maher argues that these echo chambers, on both the far left and the far right, mostly exist online. Social media creates the illusion of constant division, but real life tells a different story. Most people are working, raising families, and living their lives without being consumed by political warfare. They're not obsessing over every headline or arguing with strangers online. The truth, the outrage, the division, the chaos, it's largely artificial. Driven by a small but loud minority chasing attention and engagement, step away from the screen and things look a lot calmer, more balanced, less divided. And on that note, we wrap up today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.